Thank you. Well, thanks for having us, guys. And I'm Allison Berger, as Harrison mentioned. This is Darian Billingsley, who's also at our firm, and Chad Smith in the back is one of my business partners. We are a fee-only financial planning firm in Raleigh. All three of us went to NC State, so we feel really passionately about sharing our experience with you guys and letting you in on the career path that is fee-only financial planning. So that's what we're going to talk about today is fee-only financial planning, and the reason that there's a great need in the industry is because the average age of most financial advisors is over age 50, and within the next 10 years, nearly a third of all financial advisors are going to retire. So there's a huge opportunity for students who are versed in finance to come into the industry and take on those roles and really create a lot of wealth for themselves and for their clients. So before we get started, we're going to walk through a time value of money example, which I'm sure most of you guys have seen. We're going to have a little bit of fun with it so you can get a sense of how we work with clients and how some of those client stories might go. So we've got 4 people on the screen here and their investment experience over a 40-year period. We're going to start with Clever Chloe. And if you guys have questions, just raise your hand or call them out. We want to make this interactive. So we'll start out with Clever Chloe. Chloe, right out of the gate, graduates from college and starts saving and investing at age 25. She has a modest career. She's a Wake County public school teacher. She gets married to Carl. They're both public school teachers. They buy a starter home. They have 2 kids. They decide to stay in their starter home, raise their kids there. They're both working full-time as teachers. They have their mother-in-law stays with the kids, so they're not paying for childcare. They stay in the starter home. They drive Toyota Corollas, live very frugally, and set up an automatic savings plan. They save $10,000 every single year from age 25 to age 65. So, and $10,000 a year really isn't a huge amount to put aside, but we can see doing that over 40 years, by the time they reach retirement age at age 65, they're investing, earning 6.5% on their money over time. They've accumulated almost $9 million. So nearly $2 million they've accumulated as public school teachers. So fairly modest incomes, modest saving amount. They've accumulated a huge sum for retirement at that point. Next we have Questionable Quincy. So Questionable Quincy is an engineering graduate. He starts out as an engineer, marries his college sweetheart Quinn, and they start a family and start having kids. Quinn is also an engineer. They both have really successful careers, but they find as they start having children that Quincy is a lot better at childcare. So he turns out to be the default person that picks up sick kids from childcare, goes to the parent-teacher conferences, and changes diapers. So by the time they're 35, they've saved $10,000 a year also. So they've been putting that money away. By the time they're 35, they now have 3 kids. Childcare is getting very expensive. They decide it's time for Quincy to become a stay-at-home dad. Quinn will stay in the workforce. Quincy's going to stay at home. And they also have a pretty high lifestyle, so they like to spend money. Quincy's been driving a Infiniti QX50. Now that they have 3 kids, it's time to upgrade that to a QX80. He doesn't really want to downgrade to a minivan at this point. He's accustomed to that really nice luxury car, wants to stick with that. They can't continue saving $10,000 a year anymore. That's all going to lifestyle. 3 kids in school, activities, 1 income. So we can see even them saving for only 10 years. So they only saved $100,000 in total. By age 65, they have nearly half of what Chloe and Carl had in investments. So they've saved about $950,000 over that time. So even though they only saved $100,000, a fourth of what Chloe saved, they're still accumulating close to $1 million by the time they reach retirement because they started early, and during that 30 years where they weren't saving, their money was working for them. So they were benefiting from that compound interest over time on investments. Next, we have late start Lila. So Lila got a little bit of a late start. She had a failed marriage in her 20s after graduating from college, decided to go back to school. She went back to law school, had some student loans to pay off. She wasn't able to start saving until she was 35. But she saved $10,000 a year every single year from age 35 to 65. She also became a lawyer, so she had a high income, high standard of living to match. So drove a Lexus, a lot of shopping, lived in a luxury apartment, wasn't able to save more than $10,000 a year. So even though she saved a total of $300,000 over that time period, because she started 10 years later than Quincy and Quinn, she's almost where they are, saved about $920,000 at the end of that 40-year period. And next, we have Nervous Noah. So Noah is an FBI agent. He actually has a really risky, intense career where he's working all the time. He also had an experience where he witnessed his father losing a lot of money in the stock market when he was a child. The family had to move into a smaller home because of this. Their financial situation was impacted. So he's very nervous about putting any money in the market. He believes in the value of saving for a rainy day, doesn't want to end up in the same situation that his parents did, but he doesn't really want to get involved in the stock market either because he's seen bad things happen. So he invests $10,000 every year, is very diligent about saving, but he leaves it in cash at the bank, and his rate of return over that time is only 2.25%. So even though he saves the same amount as Chloe, $400,000 in total, he's only ending up with about $650,000 at the end of that 40-year period. So the big difference there is that he did all the hard work, but he didn't let the money work for him. So he didn't invest in the stock market, didn't have a higher rate of return, worked very hard to accumulate much less than Chloe did. So I'm sure you guys have probably seen this before. Has most everybody seen these types of examples? And we tried to put some names and stories on so you can get a sense of when you're a financial advisor and people come into your office, it's these real-world experiences that kind of make up what they've done with their money. So really, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And most people graduate college without ever seeing anything like this. So they have no real experience about saving or investing or the importance of it. And they have questions about all aspects of their financial situation. So estate, education, insurance, taxes. Most people are not getting an education about this in college, and they graduate and they might have great jobs, great incomes, but they're not sure where to turn when it comes to what do I do with my money besides spend it. So this is where you can come in as a financial advisor and learn about all these aspects of personal finance so that you can guide people on this journey and help them be on the path that Chloe was on and not some of the others who made some slip-ups along the way. So how do you get that education? So what we're talking about today is the Certified Financial Planner designation. Are some of you guys familiar with that? Okay. Awesome. So Chad and I both have that. Darian just completed the coursework, so she can answer more questions about that afterwards. But the Certified Financial Planner designation prepares you to answer all those questions that clients may have and any situations you encounter. So that's kind of my next slide is what are the requirements for the CFP coursework. So there is coursework involved. It takes about 18 months, I would say optimistically, to complete that. And a lot of companies will sponsor you. So if you find a job after graduation and you're interested in becoming a financial advisor, a lot of companies will pay for the coursework, pay for the exam, or at least reimburse you for that. So that's been our experience at the company we're at, is that we were sponsored and able to go through that program. So it might not be something you want to just invest in on your own. You might want to find if there's a company that you can get a job with, and maybe they will invest in you and help you complete that designation. So for the most part, it is a self-study course. I think there is still an in-person course at Duke. It is offered through NC State. It's an online course. So you go through 6 modules, take a test at the end of each one, and then at the end of that, there's a big case study where you work on actual client situations, run through those, and then there's an exam at the end. So once you get all of that coursework and the exam under your belt, you also have to have 3 years work experience. So that's another reason it kind of makes sense to get a job at a company that might invest in you and sponsor you to go through this program, because you can't put the letters after your name until you have that work experience requirement. And if you're able to find an internship too, that internship portion can count towards the 3-year work requirement. Yeah, so that's what Darian did. I did as well. And then with that, there's continuing education that's required and an ethics component, obviously, to comply with the standards of the program. So this is a great way to go if you're interested in becoming a personal financial planner. Helps you prepare for those situations that you're going to encounter with clients, and it's something that consumers are increasingly looking for. When they're looking for someone to help with their financial situation, they want to know who's a CFP, what's their background, what's their experience, and having those letters next to your name builds credibility right away. What we do as fee-only financial advisors is we're paid only by our clients. So there's a lot of different business models in the financial advice industry. Some other advisors might be paid by commissions or products that they sell. So we believe the fee-only is the way to do the best thing for your clients. So we're not compensated based on what products they buy or anything our company tells us to do. We're compensated based just directly from the client based on the advice that we give. So that's the fee-only model and the fiduciary standard. So has anybody heard the word fiduciary? Yeah? Okay. You guys are well-versed already. So the fiduciary standard requires us to put our client's interest ahead of our own. That's different than suitability, which is something that a salesperson might use to sell a product and say, oh, this is suitable, it's good enough for this client, but it might not really be what's in their best interest. And we've seen some situations where people are sold a particular product, maybe an insurance or an annuity that really wasn't a good fit for their financial situation, but the salesperson likely earned a big commission on that sale. So the incentives are different when you're fee only or when you're on a commission model. So with that, we are members of a national organization called NAPFA. It's the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. And through that organization, all the firms that are involved are fee only. So it is a place where consumers can go, and if they're looking for a financial advisor, they can find one that's fee only in their area. So this is a great resource for the public so they can know, what am I getting? Because there's a lot of confusion in the industry. If you're looking for a financial advisor, how do I know the difference between a financial advisor at a big company that I know that name because I see their branches when I drive down the street versus Financial Symmetry? I've never heard of them before. Who are they? So NAPFA gives a lot of credibility to firms like us and sends the public our direction. So the benefits to that, there's a lot of benefits to being a part of NAPFA. There's a community, and also for young students, there are student membership options. There are scholarship options to go to conferences, regional symposiums. There's volunteer opportunities to volunteer at conferences, which is a great opportunity to meet advisors who might be hiring and network with other people who have your same career goals. So those are some options through NAPFA. And then there's also a NAPFA Genesis group, which is for members who are under 33 who are developing their career. And with that, there's also a lot of free webinars, events that you can go to get mentorship opportunities, work with somebody else who's walked that path, and you can give each other advice and work together on that. Mentioned scholarship opportunities, volunteer opportunities. There's also a career corner. So if you are looking to work for a fee-only advisory firm, there's a lot of options out there for firms that are hiring. They're a little bit harder to find because most firms are like us and they're small. They don't have 20 to 30 jobs open at the end of every semester, but they might have one or two. NAPFA is a great place to go to see who might be hiring, who offers internships, and particularly if you're not staying in the North Carolina area, maybe your family is somewhere else and you want to find a job in another state, this is a great place to look. They'll also allow you to just post your resume up there. So if somebody's looking for a new hire, they can go there to that bank, find your resume, potentially give you a call. All right, so upcoming conferences, we have a regional symposium coming up in February in Atlanta, Georgia, and there are scholarship opportunities available for that. So that's a great opportunity to learn more about what the financial advice industry has to offer and network with people who are already in the business and might be looking to hire. We've also got conferences coming up in Denver in spring 2020, Atlanta next fall, and then 2021, San Diego and Boston. We are on all social media. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter at Team FSI, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Both Financial Symmetry and NAPFA, we're on all of those avenues. So you can connect with us and see what's going on with our company, what might be happening those ways. And then do we want to play we have 4 interns right now from NC State. We run an internship program year-round, so we always have interns in our office. So this is a great opportunity to learn more about the career path if it's something that you think might be right for you, or if you want to pursue another avenue. Most of our full-time hires have also come through the internship program. So Chad, myself, and Darian, we were all interns before we became full-time hires at NC State. So thanks for coming. There's information on the internship.